But as I said, we'll start our day here with a presentation from SmartRG, who are going to talk to us. David is going to talk to us about prpl for commercial products. So let's practice the clapping, and let's get David on stage here.
Okay, I'm the silver one. There we go. Can everybody hear me okay? Great. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm just going to get right into it. Before I introduce myself, I wanted to talk a little bit about what it takes, or what exactly is a sellable product in our space. I've illustrated our operating system that we call SmartOS. But on the surface of it, a CPE stack is really a collection of marketable features that's requested by operators such as some in the room with us today. You know, you see the typical elements there, all the non-differentiating features, and plus everything that we build up on top, right? Lots of elements there that actually make a marketable product. But what is often unseen and not understood is the stack has deep and far-reaching dependencies and really complex systems underneath. And we've illustrated them here with the iceberg, as you can see. So all of these components are necessary simply to participate and sell in this space that we're in today, in the CPE space, and really have a competitive advantage or any form of product differentiation. You've got all this baseline functionality that has to be built. So real quick, that's kind of our problem statement, if you will. I'm just myself. My name's David Cagnina. I've been working in our space for the last 20 years or so. And then just recently, I've been with SmartRG about 7 years. Last year, SmartRG was acquired by ADTRAN. So we were a tech startup, if you will, but now we've got really the size and backing of a large corporation behind us. Just a couple KPIs, if you will, for what SmartRG is. So we've got around a little over 800 broadband service provider customers across the globe. It's about 1.5 million devices that are managed per month on our device management platform, which is a globally deployed SaaS platform, and over 3 million actual CP devices in service. So it's a fairly small team. We've grown, obviously, since the ADTRAN acquisition. So right now we're at 120 personnel, with just under 70% of our personnel focused in actual software engineers. I wrote engineering, but really I should have said software engineering. What we call the subscriber solutions and experience value stream within ADTRAN is specifically focused on software. We have CPE hardware, but the hardware staffing comes from a different group within ADTRAN. It's a shared resource. So yeah, almost 70% software engineers. And really the crux or the intent of why ADTRAN brought us on was really to help move us towards this open ecosystem that we all talk about, and to provide a greater degree of in-home services. I already told you about myself. Okay, so until now, this is really the way that you service providers that are here with us and vendors such as ourselves, SmartRG, develop what we call dead-end devices, if you will. This is kind of the dirty secret of our space. I see some nodding heads from some of fellow vendors in the room. So what that looks like typically is you start out with a vendor SDK, and for better or for worse, what that really is a bunch of, we like to say, bloated binary blobs. So lots of closed source elements that we cannot manipulate, and you, the operator, of course, also have no access to. We then add a bunch of redundant work. So every time we want to build something, we build to that target, but the next time when you have a new target that you want to build toward, you understand the dirty secret, right? We've got to do all that work over again. And we're talking about baseline features, nothing that differentiates ourselves, right? We keep doing this. And so we make one-off investments every time we want to bring a new product to market. And you, the operator, you end up with less choice and a more expensive CPE. And it takes forever to get it to market, as you know. We heard from several yesterday. And the service providers, you've told us you've had enough of this. You're done with closed source CPE software environments, being constrained by any one vendor SDK with limited flexibility, no extensibility. We're done. I think I want to take a step back also and even talk about just a single feature, not a specific feature, but just a feature, and acknowledge that there's really a shadow, if you will, when it comes to any feature, whether it's differentiating or not. Of course, any feature needs to be maintained. It has to be updated, and oftentimes it'll need to be enhanced in order to keep up with whatever's going on in our space, right? So we're continually increasing the resources that are needed just to maintain any software product. And so the level of time dedicated to maintaining even legacy features kind of is proportional, if you will, to the number of platforms you support. So it can get ugly really quickly. And if you want to really see the whole effort, you need to take all three types of development into account. So starting at the bottom, you've got all the maintenance you do, managing upgrades, patches. Then you build in the common baseline features that give you little to no differentiation. And then finally, whatever time is left over, we can spend on building, the marketable differentiating features. So that looks pretty ugly. And one way to deal with this, as we've done over the years, is simply to accept those facts and try to ramp up your software development team in order to maintain all these non-differentiating features, right? Of course, this is the message I think we are all trying to hammer home. There's a better way. If we come together as a community and work on the common features, the baseline features that don't give us differentiation, there's no reason why we can't, because again, they're non-differentiating. We've all got to do it. Why do we keep working in parallel, building nothing exciting, nothing new? But if we do that, we come together as a community, then that allows us, vendors and service providers alike, to free up those resources that were focused on those baseline features and actually build differentiating services and products. And of course, what we get is we get faster time to market, and of course the products are better. And that's really the essence of what we call SmartOS at SmartRG. A little bit more about that. So just kind of another way to visualize it. So if all development is carried by a single company, then of course, as I alluded to earlier, 100% of that effort is going to have to be handled by just that single engineering team within that company. But of course, this is one way of looking at it. Would you share the effort along the lower two layers? Then again, we can refocus all those resources towards the development of those differentiating features. And so by freeing up those resources to develop the differentiating features and services, well, I should say that's not the only advantage. If we can harmonize this new ecosystem, we can do a lot more. So we can reduce the number of target software stacks and platforms. We can make it easier for our chipset manufacturers to support more customers with less demands on their resources as well. And then likewise on the service integration side, that only needs to happen once. So if you've got a value-add service like a security application, to be able to integrate it just once, and rather than every single time you want to work with a new partner or a new customer or a new platform, you've saved a ton of resources. So if you apply the open source logic to the CPE space, we all know we get prpl-WRT, and that's illustrated here in this simple block diagram. And then based on that, we at SmartRG have built what we call SmartOS. So you can see below or above OpenWRT and the prpl-WRT framework, we bring in our differentiating apps and services, build on that application layer for bringing in cloud services, and up on top of that. So really what we wanted to tell you about, the most important thing that I wanted to say today was it's here. It's here now. So right now we've announced just yesterday in a press release the availability of 3 commercial at-market products we've been shipping for some time, but now what we call SmartOS 11, the first commercially available prpl-WRT products focused in the carrier space. And so we kind of wanted to have a bit of a breadth. So the first 3 products represent first a Wi-Fi router, secondly a DSL integrated access device, and then thirdly a Wi-Fi mesh AP. Each of them, as you can see, based on a different vendor silicon. So that we've delivered on the promise of prpl-WRT and hardware abstraction. And then later next year, we'll bring on GPON, XGS-PON, as well as, of course, Wi-Fi 6 from the various silicon vendors you see there. So kind of as I close up here, I really want to make the call and urge every one of us that we can do more. If every single one of us in the room, every single company represented in the room were to dedicate just 1 or 2 resources to prpl-WRT and the other Purple projects, we can offload so many more tasks to the group that, again, the non-differentiating features and services that are requested and required by operators, even the ones that we heard from on yesterday's panel. So to summarize, contribute. If you're an OEM, you can contribute to Purple in order to share the burden of those non-differentiating services, the maintenance, et cetera, and free up those resources to help you build compelling new services. If you're an operator, please continue to maintain pressure on your silicon vendors to support Purple and stop buying closed source devices, because that's the only way you're going to change the industry. And then for you software service vendors in the room, encourage you to integrate just once on prpl-WRT and enjoy the benefits of having available so many numerous different platforms from various vendors, various silicon vendors, and then, of course, naturally having that reach into so many more operators. So that's the end of my slide decks. Any questions? That was way too easy.
One second, I
Yes.
just need to get the microphone, sorry.
Hi, Mika Lehtinen from F-Secure. So, yes, so I was wondering that is there a way to know to which extent the Purple APIs have been implemented on a particular device or vendor solution, or can we assume that they are implemented in full extent? I mean, as a software vendor, if we would utilize those APIs.
If I hear you correctly, you're asking which APIs, Purple APIs, are implemented at this time? So on those products, since the high-level API is not actually completed yet, we've abstracted it ourselves. However, as the high-level API projects are completed, then we'll, of course, naturally merge into that and harmonize around that. Likewise, the low-level API. So today we've done a lot of that work ourselves within SmartRG. And so, again, as those projects complete, we'll come into compliance there.
Okay, but just like starting integration, so would it be possible to know somehow like which APIs are available in some release?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
Okay.
Can the sound person put some of that microphone in the monitor feed if we have it? I'm sorry, just not able to hear you.
Okay, so yeah. So as a software vendor, in order to integrate with the Purple WRT, for example, it would be really interesting to know to which extent the APIs have been implemented on that particular release. So what would be the standard way or kind of normal way to figuring out which APIs would be available to use?
Yeah, that's typical software release notes.
Okay.
And of course, we can interact more closely together as in a partnering way as well, whether it be through the Purple community or directly vendor to vendor.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Andika.
Hey, can you show us again the slide where you have all the layers, all the...
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah, so what is exactly, I mean, the difference there between OpenWRT and prpl-WRT? I mean...
Yeah, this is obviously a very simplified diagram, Andika. I don't think we've really call out the differences there. Of course, with the framework, there's some elements like, let's see, what have I got there? So DSL, obviously, and as we add fiber, those are going to be elements that are specifically Purple WRT modules, whereas, of course, things like DNS, et cetera, those are right out of
and this would be upstream to OpenWRT, or what's the plan with that?
Yeah, absolutely. For instance, DSL uses the DSL framework.
And all the Smart OS is your proprietary part?
I'm sorry?
The Smart OS part, the green part,
Yes,
this is
yeah.
all your proprietary things, right?
That's where what?
Your proprietary stuff.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Thanks, Andika.
So maybe I can just add on as the one of the Purple WRT people in the room. That's actually a very good question. What is the difference? And I was trying to explain that yesterday in the talk. There is no difference. So Purple WRT is by now somewhat of a staging tree of OpenWRT. There is no divergence. We might be ahead a little bit with a couple of commits, but those all go upstream. And that is exactly what you see in the gray box. And then on top, you have optional packages, so there are no base platform changes. They're all in packages and feeds that go on top of what you get out of the GitLab, out of the Git repositories. That's also to the question before, how to start integration. Sorry for stealing your thunder.
Not at all.
To start the integration, the easiest is to go to the GitLab, get the platform down, do your integration, put them in feeds and packages, whatever, and then the integration would be quite easy, because that all comes from OpenWRT. Any other questions in the room? Okay. Thank you very much, David.
Thanks, everyone.